We are starting with WWE as several contracts are set to expire this year, and after the recent departure of Becky Lynch, another former champion has made clear they are leaving. PW Insider, alongside multiple sources, have confirmed that Ricochet has given notice to WWE and intends to depart the company when his current contract expires. Ricochet has been involved in Braun Breaker's program with Ilya Dragunov in recent weeks, but it's reported he'll be written out of storylines and written off TV very soon before his exit. Ricochet hasn't won on Raw since April 1st when he defeated Ivar, and recently began cutting promos about how he loses the majority of his matches. One source who spoke to PW Insider gave Ricochet all the credit in the world for betting on himself, as it's expected he'll quickly be a hot commodity as a free agent. The one and only is WWE's first and so far only mid-card Triple Crown champion and the inaugural Speed champion, but what's next for Ricochet after WWE? Fightful Select reports that AEW staff and talent backstage have been talking about Ricochet joining the company, but legally, AEW can't make him an offer at this time. Ricochet is still under contract with WWE, and Fightful was told that nothing is an impossibility, but as of Friday, all indications were that he'd decided to leave the company. Will Ospreay has been vocal about his desire for Ricochet to join AEW, criticizing WWE's handling of the wrestler, and the pair have a history of excellent matches together. On Twitter, MJF reacted to Ricochet after a fan crafted an MJF promo mocking Ricochet that said he'll have Samantha Irvin screaming his name and that he can go longer than 3 minutes. This double entendre is a nod to the WWE Speed rules, and this fan-crafted promo caught the attention of the real MJF, who bookmarked the promo, teasing he wants to face Ricochet. New Japan is also being rumored as a potential opportunity for Ricochet, but for now, fans will have to eagerly await his next move as his career in WWE comes to an end. Over to NXT Battleground, and in perhaps the most anticipated match of the night, Jordynne Grace was able to counter Roxanne Perez time and again with the knockout's incredible strength on display. A distraction came at ringside when Tatum Paxley tried to steal the TNA Knockouts title, but she was laid out by Grace, as was TNA's Ash by Elegance, formerly known as Dana Brooke. This distraction gave Perez the opportunity to hit Pop Rocks, and it was the Prodigy who got the win, retaining the NXT Women's Championship. If any fans were skeptical about watching TNA, Grace absolutely delivered in this spot, showing out for the entire Knockouts division, and Perez more than held her own. This felt more like a Knockouts match than an NXT Women's match, and it helped the pair stand out, and Perez has rarely looked more comfortable with an opponent. The somewhat lame finish did let the action down a bit, making sure Perez vs. Grace was not quite a match of the year candidate, but this was still unlike anything WWE has produced. Hopefully the TNA partnership will grow to allow more matches like this, as more TNA wrestlers need to appear than just Grace and a woman who was in NXT last year, Ash by Elegance. There was an unfortunate botch during this match, but not by Grace or Perez or even Paxley or Elegance, but rather by WWE NXT commentator Vic Joseph. As Ash by Elegance made her presence felt, Joseph began to refer to her as Dana before recognizing that she doesn't go by that name anymore. Fortunately, this was a minor botch in what was a historic match, and serves as a reminder that wrestlers do have identities outside of WWE. After being taunted time and again by all-ego Ethan Page, Trick Williams looked extra motivated in his NXT title match, and Page's frustration at being unable to put Trick away would cost him. As he got incensed by the referee, Page fell victim to Williams' trick knee to give the NXT champion the victory in Page's first WWE match. Page was the obvious leader, sometimes pushing Trick past the speed he was comfortable working, but the challenge motivated the NXT champion to work extra to match his opponent. It was still a clear indication that Trick has plenty of room to grow as the top man in NXT, but it was also a strong showcase that he can get there working with great competitors. Given the historic nature of the match, the women should have main evented, even with the messy finish, since there was no big surprise left for NXT to deliver by the end. This would have been a cool spot to deliver another surprise TNA arrival, or establish Trick's next challenger, at least as right now, it seems only Noam Dar is an option. Dar is a great wrestler, but he is an unspectacular choice for NXT Heatwave, which is now only 1 month away. Since returning to WWE last November, CM Punk has become something of a mentor in NXT and can often be found giving advice and guidance to the Gold brand roster. Last night, WWE NXT held its much-anticipated Battleground event, and with the show being a historic one for multiple reasons, CM Punk wasn't going to miss it. PW Insider reported that Punk was behind the scenes at the show at the UFC Apex, and he wasn't the only notable name spotted at the event. TNA Hall of Famer Gail Kim was also spotted and was no doubt there in support of Jordynne Grace for the Knockouts Champions match with Roxanne Perez. Kim is also a former WWE superstar, but has been critical of her time with the company, which makes her appearance at NXT Battleground all the more significant. In addition to Kim, there was Jonathan Gresham, who in addition to being a TNA wrestler, is the husband of Jordynne Grace, and two notable names from TNA management as well. Ariel Schnerner, the Senior Vice President of Content, was at Battleground, as was Anthony Saccone, the Anthem/TNA President, who controversially replaced Scott D'Amore. All of these names only further demonstrate how significant NXT Battleground was, and we can only wonder what talks these TNA names had with WWE management backstage. Since the Raw after WrestleMania 40, QR codes have been appearing on WWE TV with the belief that this is building to the return of Uncle Howdy. The demented character is portrayed by Bo Dallas, and it's believed he will be returning with a stable, but don't expect answers to this mystery from Bo's father, Mike Rotunda. During the Ringer Wrestling show, the WWE Hall of Famer was asked about the rumors surrounding Uncle Howdy's return and said, "To be honest with you, I want it to be a surprise, but there is something bubbling. I don't religiously watch the show anymore, so I'm not up to score on everything, which I'm kind of getting back into it now. I took a hiatus from it after 13 years of seeing it every night. After 40 years of seeing it every night, I kind of drew back, and just now, I'm starting to get back in. But there is stuff bubbling. I don't know the ins and outs, but hopefully it'll be good. That's above my pay grade to figure that out, that's for sure. QR codes? I don't know what the hell that is." Rotunda may have his theories about what's coming, but he's not privy to any secret knowledge, and it seems the concept of a QR code is just as mysterious to him as the messages. As for when fans get their answers, that remains to be seen, but hopefully it won't be too much longer until the revelation behind the QR code mystery becomes clear on TV. On last week's SmackDown, Cody Rhodes was prepared to go to war with AJ Styles, and their segment would see security try to keep the pair apart. As we've seen in the past, this wasn't actual venue security, but instead wrestlers, as Fightful reports that these security guards came from OVW. Curtis, TW3, Ashton Adonis, and Kale Harrow made on-screen appearances, while Angela Risk and Sophia Rose were backstage, as there was plenty of OVW representation at SmackDown. More from NXT, as Jordynne Grace shocked fans when she arrived in the Gold brand last month, which came months after her surprise appearance in the Women's Royal Rumble match. TNA has been happy to allow Grace into WWE as she represents TNA Wrestling, but could all this be building up to WWE eventually stealing the reigning Knockouts champion? According to PW Insider's Mike Johnson, steal may be a strong word, but it is believed that there will be a concerted effort that will ultimately see Grace land a full-time role in WWE. That could come after her TNA contract expires in the first quarter of 2025, or perhaps even sooner, as it's possible WWE could make an offer to buy out her contract. Grace's appearances as a TNA star in WWE has made headlines, but would the buzz still be there if she was another woman on WWE's roster? We may find out in the future. When Solo Sikoa took over as the head of the Bloodline, he wasted no time in bringing in Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, the sons of the legendary wrestler Haku. Haku, known for being the toughest man in wrestling, has another son in wrestling though, that being Hikuleo, and fans could soon see him stand alongside his brothers. Earlier this year, it was reported that Hikuleo's contract with NJPW was slated to extend into June, and an interesting development took place at the recent Dominion event. In the IWGP World Tag and New Japan Strong Tag title winner-takes-all match, Hikuleo and El Phantasmo were the first team eliminated and were sent packing by eventual winners TMDK. After the event, a notable moment unfolded as Hikuleo embraced ELP and Jado before walking out of the press conference, with some seeing this as him saying goodbye to New Japan. It was reported back in January that WWE were interested in Hikuleo, which came about even at a time when the company was on an official hiring freeze. Could Hikuleo join his brothers as the next member of the Bloodline? Time will tell, but his appearance at Dominion and what came after has certainly had fans talking. Later this month, Natalya's current WWE deal will expire, and unless a new deal is reached very soon, the 16-year veteran of the main roster will soon be a free agent. This week, Natalya took to Instagram to share some clips from a photo shoot, and the use of Taylor Swift's So Long London in the background has had fans talking. The lyrics include, "I'm just mad as hell cause I love this place. For so long London, had a good run." Led many to believe that Natalya is speaking about WWE and that she plans to leave. There's talk that Natalya could be heading to AEW to participate in the 3rd annual Owen Hart Foundation tournament, which would obviously have a deep connection to her. With that said, Natalya and WWE have been in contract negotiations as recently as this week, and the Queen of Hearts has since taken down her post with the lyrics in question. Natalya has a big decision to make about her future, which isn't to be made lightly, but don't be surprised if the WWE veteran is soon competing outside the promotion. More from NXT Battleground, as the show did not begin with the most grand of starts, as the UFC Apex looked and sounded too small for a show with this much build-up. The acoustics were not set up well for the crowd, and after a rather uninspired introduction by Sexy Red, we kicked things off with the women's North American title ladder match. Everyone had to work together to eliminate Lash Legend from the equation, and the women delivered, but to a crowd that sounded non-existent thanks to the poor acoustics. The match ended with a shocking run up the ladder by Jordynne to pull down the NXT Women's North American Championship, which was a genuinely surprising result. While Jordynne was a potential dark horse candidate in this match, Sol Ruca, Fallon Henley, and Legend all had a clearer path to the gold, but Jordynne's victory was very much earned. Jordynne has been one of the best in-ring workers of the women's division since her arrival, and was more ready for gold than the woman who beat her in the breakout tournament, Lola Vice. This was a statement that solidifies Lani as a rising star of the division. Even if she loses the gold quickly, which is possible if she faces Henley, she will always be the first champion. The match itself was a solid one with some creative spots, and Michin took the role of ring general, but the lack of energy due to the setup dampened the impact of the bout. Nathan Frazer and Axiom overcame the best the OC could throw at them, and a Spanish fly into a Phoenix splash on Anderson saw the tag team champions retain. This was probably the best we've seen the OC look since returning, as the veterans pulled out athletic moves that rivaled their athletic opponents. The UFC Apex continued to let the action down, but a "This is awesome" chant did slip out for a few seconds, even if it feels like the OC never had a real chance of winning. Despite a strong story behind it, the drama was lacking towards the end, but NXT officials should consider a rematch given how well Gallows and Anderson work on the gold brand. We've got some unfortunate news regarding Gigi Dolin now, who in recent weeks had been a part of a program in which Ariana Grace had planned on making her into a proper lady. Recently though, that angle was abruptly halted, with Grace moving on to other things, and now Fightful Select has confirmed that Dolin is dealing with a serious knee injury. This injury is one Dolin has been dealing with for a while, and she's been absent backstage at tapings, with her segments with Grace being filmed outside the Performance Center. These segments were WWE's way to keep her on TV despite her injury, but now that her injury is confirmed, this angle has been unfortunately nixed, and Grace moved on to other work. Dolin had been seen wearing a knee brace, which fueled speculation something was wrong, and this injury comes at a time when Dolin has been sparking interest with the main roster. After appearing twice on SmackDown in 2022, Dolin appeared on 3 episodes of Main Event in December 2023 and January 2024, sparking belief that she'd soon be called up. Now fans will have to wait for Gigi Dolin to recover from this knee injury, and we're wishing her the best on her road back to the ring. In recent weeks, Brooks Jensen has been causing a stir in WWE NXT after teasing that he'd been released and recently crashing an NXT live event. Jensen would also crash last week's NXT taping during a break, which ended with him being confronted by security, and now the NXT superstar has appeared at an indie event. The second-generation superstar was at the Bullpen Professional Wrestling event in Bowdoin High School Gym in Georgia, and on Twitter asked fans, "Am I working you now?" Jensen has seemingly been expelled from NXT, but is continuing to make trouble for the gold brand, leaving fans interested to see what he does next in this angle. In the NXT Underground match, Lola Vice found an opening by targeting the right knee of Shayna Baszler, and a second spinning back fist would eventually knock out the Queen of Spades. This match was made for this format, helped by the loud pounding of the wrestlers around the ring, and Baszler made Vice look dangerous throughout this hard-hitting fight. NXT Underground has been a hit so far, and should remain a staple of the Gold brand, with Lola Vice and Eddie Thorpe already establishing their dominance in the stipulation. It is questionable if Vice was ready to pick up wins over both Natalya and Baszler in short order, but NXT is committed to her, but she will need to prove she is worthy of such a rub quickly. These wins need to push Vice into the NXT Women's Championship contention, as anything else would be a waste of two main roster veterans losing big time to her. In the North American title triple threat, Gallus made the save for Joe Coffey time and again, but they were taken out by a dive from Wes Lee onto Mark Coffey and Wolfgang. In the end, it was Oba Femi who again stood tall, as he planted both challengers with powerbombs to win the match and once again prove his dominance. The expected Gallus interference hurt the pace of this match, but that did not truly stop what was another quality title defense for NXT's resident monster. No one in WWE, whether it be in NXT or the main roster, has consistently impressed quite like Femi has in the years since his debut, and there's no question who the right man is for the title. Hopefully NXT will rebuild Lee for a singles match next month against Femi. That is still a huge money match for the right stage, and though Joe Coffey did his job, he was clearly the odd man out. And that was NXT Battleground, a fine PLE without a ton of memorable moments, with Kalani Jordan's win to open the night being the only new champion crowned. The only surprise appearance was the arrival of Ash by Elegance, who was there just to get knocked down at ringside, and many thought they'd see more than that. With Heatwave a month away, NXT ended its major feuds with definitive results that leave little immediate excitement on the horizon for any division. The wrestling was all at least good, with a few clear standouts, and Roxanne Perez vs Jordynne Grace was the kind of match NXT TNA could run back 3 more times without fail. Lola Vice scored one of the most important wins of her career, while Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson delivered a late career-defining effort in the NXT Tag Team title match. The shame is that none of it felt like a true premium live event. The UFC Apex was quieter than the WWE Performance Center, and flat results left no room for major conversation. But what did you think of NXT Battleground? Let us know in the comments below. Last weekend, AEW Collision took place at the Mid-America Center in Council Bluffs, Iowa, as the roster continued on the road to Forbidden Door. The show may have been stacked, but the venue was lacking, at least according to AEW COO Kosha Irby, who said on Twitter that the Mid-America Center was a subpar venue partner. When a fan suggested that Irby was trying to say it was a superb location, the AEW COO made it clear he said what he said and seemingly doesn't regret his criticism. As for what made the venue a subpar partner for AEW, that's unclear, but it may be some time before we see the All Elite roster back in Council Bluffs Mid-America Center. And we're ending with Adam Copeland, who has suffered a fractured tibia that has led to the TNT title being vacated, and Copeland set to undergo surgery. Right now, it's unclear when we'll see the Rated R legend back in the ring, but on Busted Open Radio, Copeland was asked about what lies in store for his return. In response, Copeland admitted that he's caught between two options, as on the one hand, this injury could give him the chance to recreate himself upon his return. On the other hand, Copeland added that each injury adds to the character he's already been portraying, which he believes isn't too far removed from the real him. Copeland is a grizzled veteran who only grows more grizzled with each injury, and we'll just have to wait and see what sort of Adam Copeland we see when he's fully healed from this setback.